Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about another bombshell allegation against the Biden crime family that brings us closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to the smoking gun that Democrats say doesn't exist in regards to Joe Biden's involvement with Hunter Biden's business, which basically is selling out the American people, taxpayers, overseas in exchange for political favors, in which, allegedly Joe Biden fired a Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating Burisma, the company that his son Hunter was on the board of, even though Hunter doesn't have any real marketable skills or anything like that. This family business isn't really selling any real product or service, but they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Joe Biden also allegedly refused to issue sanctions on a Russian oligarch who paid his family millions of dollars as well, too. All this, along with the evidence that we have in regards to WhatsApp messages, bank records, phone calls, Devin Archer's testimony, whistleblower testimony. We have all kinds of evidence, okay? However, we are missing the elusive smoking gun that would basically, without a doubt, prove that Joe Biden was paid in exchange for these favors, okay? Now, again, it went from the mainstream liberal media denying that the laptop exists in the first place to finally acknowledging that the laptop exists, but saying that Joe Biden's innocent. He never talked to his son about his business deals or talked to his son's business partners, which we now know is a lie, okay? Because we now know that Joe Biden did talk to Hunter Biden's business partners, but the mainstream liberal media is saying, well, he only talked about pleasantries, right? Just pleasantries. He talked about the weather, right? Apparently, Joe Biden's the weatherman now, okay? However, it seems to me that even that narrative is about to be shattered, as allegedly Joe Biden was using a fake name to loop in his son regarding his schedule and the things that he would be doing in Ukraine that matches the timeline in which basically Joe Biden went into Ukraine and handled business on behalf of Burisma, aka got rid of the prosecutor that was investigating the company. Now, why would Hunter Biden need to be looped in on this? Okay, why in the world is Joe Biden using this fake name? Well, we all know, okay, all of us with common sense, we all know what's going on here. This is just typical Biden crime family activities, right? Them trying to cover up the trail, right? So with that being said, I actually want to play this clip of James Comer, who is leading the investigation into the Biden crime family, discussing this with Sean Hannity so you guys can get a better understanding of what's going on here. Take a look.
It's all a pattern here, Sean. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. The Democrats and their friends in the media try to say there's no connection to Joe Biden. Every day there's more connections. And I think these emails today are consistent with the timeline that shows exactly what the real quid pro quo was in Ukraine. It was Joe Biden, not Donald Trump.
The WhatsApp message is very revealing. I'm sitting here with my father. Why didn't you keep your commitment? We expect a call from you. Wasn't that sent to a oil executive with CEFC, the Chinese energy giant?
Yes, it was. And remember, that WhatsApp message was produced by the IRS whistleblowers. This was the IRS International Tax Crimes Team. This was the A team investigating all these suspicious wires, this suspicious activity that the Bidens were getting from foreign nationals around the world while Joe Biden was sitting vice president influencing foreign policy. That's why the whistleblowers were so frustrated when they were told to stand down, because they said their investigation was clearly going straight to Joe Biden.
Let me ask you this, that 1023 form that the FBI desperately tried to keep from you, the one that used an FBI informant, and that informant was trusted by the FBI. They had paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past, right? So they believed in what he brought them, correct? And they didn't want to give this to you.
That's correct.
And you had a copy, and you and Charles Grassley released it. Isn't that the same informant that met with the CEO of Burisma and chronicled that conversation and gave that information to the FBI? And in that information, didn't it say that That's where he said that he thought the head of Burisma said that he thought Hunter was stupid, his dog was smarter. But didn't they also say that he didn't want to give the Bidens money, but he had to, was forced to? $5 million for one Biden, $5 million for another Biden, and it will take 10 years to find out how that money was paid. Did that happen, sir?
Yes, sir. And see, you look at that 1023 form that alleged the bribery. It's consistent with what we've seen in Romania. It's consistent with the timeline that you and John Solomon have documented on your show tonight. And I believe that one reason that Hunter was CC'd on those emails where Joe Biden was using a fake name is so Hunter could prove to the Ukrainian oligarch, look, help is on the way. Because we heard from Devin Archer say that the owners of Burisma were squeezing Hunter Biden, saying, we need help from Washington. Now, who do you think they were referring to when they were talking to Hunter Biden, who they've said was dumber than their dogs, who was a drug addict, who had no experience, that we need help from Washington? Who do you think they were talking about? And here we see now evidence that shows Joe Biden didn't have a wall between the government and his son's shady business dealings. He was copying him on foreign policy to let him know ahead of time, help is on the way. We're going to go in there and we're going to fire that prosecutor who's trying to bust you for corruption, son.
And we're looking at a president of the United States who's now being investigated by your committee for allegations of bribery and money laundering. Is that a fair statement?
That's a very fair statement.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Let's go ahead and read a little bit more about this so you guys can get a better understanding of the allegations here regarding Joe Biden using fake names to communicate with his son involving his schedule and policy in Ukraine. So let's read here. President Joe Biden's use of multiple pseudonyms during his vice presidency appears to have hidden some of his communications from that period, including some involving Ukraine policy and his son, Hunter Biden. The House Oversight Committee asked the National Archives on Thursday for communications involving three of Joe Biden's aliases, Robert Peters, Robin Ware, and JRB Ware. Yeah, so one of these aliases, Robert Peters, is hilarious that he used because Hunter calls Joe Biden Pedo Peter, right? Behind closed doors, okay? That's what Hunter calls his father, Pedo Peter, which again is hilarious, but also disturbing considering some of the other allegations against Joe Biden. But 10% for the big guy. And the big guy is Joe. Robert Peters is Joe. Robin Ware, JRB Ware. Apparently, Joe Biden got a lot of names. Okay, he got a lot of names. The committee sought correspondence between those aliases, Hunter Biden, and two of his former business partners, Eric Sherwin and Devin Archer. Only emails involving the aliases and Hunter Biden are presently public due to the publication of the contents of a laptop he abandoned in a Delaware repair shop. Again, it still amazes me that this guy, Hunter Biden, is so dumb that he left this laptop with all this damning evidence in a repair shop in Delaware, right? But he was smart enough to create all these shell companies and to basically try to hide the trail that clearly and obviously shows that him and his father are selling out the American people in exchange for foreign policy decisions. Again, it's fascinating stuff. The guy appears to be smart and dumb at the same time. Several of those messages suggest Hunter Biden was looped in on preparations his father, in his capacity as vice president, was making for talks with Ukrainian officials in 2016. At the time, Hunter Biden was working on the board of a Ukrainian energy company. In one message from May 26, 2016, for example, Hunter Biden was copied on an email to his father from a staff member who was reminding the then vice president that the following morning he would huddle with staff before a phone call with then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. Yeah, so again, why is Hunter Biden copied on an email to his father from a staff member reminding Joe Biden that, hey, you got a phone call with the Ukrainian president tomorrow? Why would Hunter Biden be on that type of email, right? Unless Hunter Biden needed to know this so that Hunter Biden would talk to his father, okay, and give his father the pep talk, right, in terms of what he's supposed to say, what he's supposed to demand from this Ukrainian president, okay? I'm just saying. I mean, this is not hard to figure out. Hunter Biden was not frequently looped in to such emails about his father's schedule. His inclusion on scheduling emails with, quote, Robert Peters, his father's pseudonym, at that time appeared to happen on just a handful of dates that corresponded to developments with Ukrainian policy. Oh, so they were only looping in Hunter Biden when it came to Joe Biden's Ukraine policy, right? So the things that were going on with Ukraine, that's the only time they would loop in Hunter, who again just happened to be on the board of Burisma, and they wanted the prosecutor that was investigating them fired. Again, amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. Remember, Joe Biden openly bragged about withholding taxpayer dollars in exchange for getting the guy fired. Okay, he openly bragged about it. But again, according to the liberal media, nothing sketchy here, nothing sketchy. Joe Biden had already successfully pressured Poroshenko to fire Ukraine's prosecutor Viktor Shokin by the time the May 27th call occurred. Shokin had been investigating the energy company that was paying Hunter Biden and his business associates significant money at the time. During the call with Poroshenko in May 2016, Joe Biden mentioned the Ukrainian prosecutor situation according to an archive readout of the call. Hunter Biden was copied on another email on June 14, 2016, regarding his father's official schedule for the day. The following day, June 15, Joe Biden held a meeting with Ukrainian Prime Minister Vladimir Grossman and announced a new package of aid to Ukraine. Hunter Biden was also included on an email detailing his father's schedule for the day of that meeting. Again, I'm not sure why in the world do you have Hunter Biden? Why does he have his son CC'd and included on emails where we have official U.S. government business going on, right? Again, I'm trying to figure out what is the explanation for this, okay? What is the explanation? And just 5 days earlier, Sherwin, then Hunter Biden's business partner, had visited the White House to meet with Joe Biden's office, according to visitor log. Again, another coincidence, right? Another coincidence, okay? So again, Joe is copying his son on all of his, dealings with Ukraine, okay? And then also on top of that, the White House is meeting with Hunter Biden's business partner, right? So he had visited the White House to meet with Joe Biden or Joe Biden's office 5 days earlier, right? Before this phone call, okay, with the Ukrainian prime minister. Yeah, nothing sketchy going on here, right? Nothing sketchy going on here. Other than the few days surrounding the Poroshenko call in May and the Ukrainian prime minister meeting in June 2016, Hunter Biden does not appear to be looped into more of the emails about his father's schedule cards or what appeared to be internal memos detailing the vice president's daily schedule. Joe Biden spent a significant amount of time during the end of 2015 and the first half of 2016 on Ukrainian policy. In early December 2015, he visited Ukraine and delivered a speech to the Ukrainian Rwanda where he argued that, quote, the office of the general prosecutor desperately needs reform and said, quote, the judiciary should be overhauled. 3 days after that speech, which was aimed at then Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin, Sherwin visited the White House according to visitor logs. Again, why are they meeting with Hunter Biden's business partner? Why is he going to the White House? The House Oversight Committee's request to the National Archives included all drafts of that December 9th, 2015 speech in Ukraine. In an email between Hunter Biden and Robert Ware, another Joe Biden pseudonym, Hunter Biden appears to press for a friend, John McGrail, to land a job he wanted in June 2014, imploring his father to consider McGrail before you fill the position. Quote, call me right away, Joe Biden replied. By the following month, according to his LinkedIn page, McGrail had landed a job as a deputy counsel in the vice president's office and was later promoted to cancel. Other emails on Hunter Biden's laptop show Joe Biden communicated frequently with his family using the aliases to offer encouragement and to let them know how much he missed them on his travels. Yeah, again, so the mainstream liberal media is going to take that and say, well, Joe Biden was doing this because he loves his son, right? He was including his son on all of his emails regarding Ukraine because, again, he was dealing with, his son, Bo, being sick, ill, dying, whatever. And he loves Hunter that much and that he had to include Hunter on this stuff. Okay, again, that's going to be the spin here from the mainstream liberal media. In one heartwarming set of exchanges, Joe Biden told his son that an article about his 2014 ejection from the Navy Reserves over cocaine use was as, quote, good as it could have been, and encouraged his son to move forward. Joe Biden has often spoke of his closeness with his family, and Hunter Biden has remained at his father's side for official events and trips, even as his controversies caused headaches during Joe Biden's presidency. Yeah, just like flying Hunter Biden out on Air Force Two to China to discuss business with Hunter's CCP business partners, right? Yeah, Joe Biden loves his son that much. He's willing to sell out the country with his son. That's what's happening here. That's what's happening. But the evidence that Joe Biden had much more involvement in his son's business affairs than he had previously acknowledged has continued to mount in recent weeks. An IRS whistleblower this spring brought forth evidence that investigators had compiled over several years about the extent of Joe Biden's role in the business, including an FBI interview with a former business partner who said discussions were had about cutting Joe Biden in on a Chinese business deal if he decided against his 2020 presidential run, and Joe Biden's willingness to stop by dinners to help his son close deals. Yeah, so y'all know what's going on here, right? Again, just more evidence of sketchy business activities going on. I'm not sure exactly what explanation they could have for Hunter Biden being looped in on Joe's official schedule in regards to Ukraine and some of the things that we're doing in Ukraine, unless, you know, Hunter needed to know so that he could coordinate calling his dad and to know what's going on, because, you know, he's dependent on his dad to execute on the plan that the Biden crime family has, right, on their end of the bargain, right, in regards to their business deals. I mean, that to me seems to be what, you know, the most likely explanation is. But I'm sure, according to the media, it's going to be because he loves his son so much, right? That's what it's going to be about. But hey, we'll see what these National Archive records show, if there was any like direct communication between Joe Biden using, you know, this fake email or whatever and Hunter Biden's business partners, Burisma. That's what they're looking for. Okay, that's what they're really looking for. We'll see if we get it. But again, just more kind of evidence here of, you know, sketchy activity coming from the Biden crime family. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.